Friends, Jordan Montgomery here, and we're glad that you've tuned into another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. Before we jump into today's conversation, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor. Thompson & Co. Salon and Parlor is a family-owned, stylist-owned community salon that fits the needs for all types of families. Located in downtown Iowa City and now a second location in Coralville, North Liberty area, TCO specializes in all things hair. In fact, that's where I've been getting my hair done for the last 7 years. TCO specializes in hair cutting, razor cutting, the most modern color techniques, and high-end hair extensions. As one of Iowa's only inter-coiffure salons and Salon Today's top 200 salons in the U.S., TCO looks forward to being the salon of choice for you and those you love. Be sure to call or book on their website today at thompsonandcosalon.com. Thank you, TCO, for all you do for us and our community. Welcome back to the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. And today we get to host a dear friend, somebody I've really come to enjoy and appreciate. I get to spend a lot of time with this individual. We get to connect every other week. He's a father, a husband, a person of faith, and he is also an offensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tyler Shatley currently holds a franchise record for games played in a Jacksonville Jaguars uniform. Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. He's a leader in so many areas of life: faith, family, football. And Tyler's also part of our Montgomery Company's coaching program. Humble heart, very gifted communicator, thinker. And today we're going to talk about all things faith, family, football, dealing with uncertainty. If you are a person who is trying to navigate the future, life feels uncertain, you're not sure what your next chapter is going to look like, you need to know this about Tyler Shatley. Tyler was an undrafted free agent, went to Clemson University, played for Dabo Swinney, had a great career playing football at Clemson. Undrafted free agent, is now going into his 11th year in the NFL. He's been navigating uncertainty throughout his professional football career, but he's handled it well with a great level of humility, and now entering into his 11th season. Welcome to the show, my buddy, good friend, Tyler Shatley. Thanks for being here.
Jordan, I appreciate you having me on, man.
This is fun, man.
Excited to be here. Absolutely.
Hey, every time we talk, the conversation goes back to two things. It goes back to faith and it goes back to family. And you've managed to stay grounded in your faith. You've stayed connected to your family. And you've had this sort of interesting life over the last decade where you got thrust into the world of professional football, but you didn't really know how things were going to shake out or turn out as an undrafted free agent. You're now entering your 11th season. There's somebody listening today, Tyler, that doesn't know what their next season is going to look like. Matter of fact, you just found out that you're coming back for another year. That's fresh news. So, man, congratulations. We're excited. Come see you play again in Jacksonville. Shout out Brandon Sheriff as well. We know each other because of Brandon. A lot of people listening are familiar with Brandon. So love working with you guys. Talk to us about what that was like. Let's go back to even college days. You get drafted. You don't get drafted. You're undrafted free agent, right? But you get signed and your football career begins and you start to deal with this sort of uncertain professional future year after year. Talk to us about what that journey's been like.
So, like you said, undrafted. Honestly, man, it was funny. So I came in, one of my best friends, he and I were both undrafted. He was an offensive lineman too, Josh Wells. So we were both undrafted. We actually roomed together our rookie year, like leading into camp and stuff. And it's so funny, man. I can remember we were sitting in the hotel, just having these conversations about, man, like, I don't know if like this is what's going to work out. You know, these guys are good football players. Like, I feel like I'm like my head's spinning. Like, I have no idea what's going on. Honestly, and we even talked about, I think I said the words, at least we had a free summer in Jacksonville. And sure enough, it's it's funny, obviously 11 years later. Yes, there's been a lot of uncertainty, and especially for me as a career backup, a lot of uncertainty every year, or every 2 years. I'm going into free agency, uh, without a guarantee of like someone wanting them picking me back up. And a lot of just like just trusting that God's got me where He wants me. There's a story that I love to tell, and it kind of sums this up perfectly. So my rookie year, actually, we were sitting in chapel one night, and this is before the fourth preseason game. It wasn't this long ago, but um, we had four preseason games, all right. And before the fourth one, the fourth preseason game is typically when they make all the cuts after that one. And the night before, we always have chapel, and one of our chaplain at the time had always done this thing where on the last preseason game he likes to give the floor to the guys and somebody get up and speak. And one of the receivers, I can't remember his name right now, and I apologize if he hears this, but he came and spoke, and he talked about his rookie year, also dealing with uncertainty. I want to say he'd been hurt maybe,
Mm.
and he was talking to his dad the night before, the same kind of thing before the fourth preseason game. Was saying that, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, I've been hurt. Like, this is, I'm just not getting to play kind of thing. And he said his dad told him, he's like, son, that what happened, whether you play football or not, whether you are in Jacksonville or not, is not up to the GM. It's not up to the head coach. It's not up to you. If that is where God wants you, that is where you'll be.
Mm.
And I remember hearing that and being like, man, like, that's so true. Because like,
Mm.
and you can, and it's one thing to say that, and say, oh, like, yeah, no, I believe that God's got me, but are you living that out? And it was just so cool to hear that, and then to kind of feel that freedom of like, yeah, man, like, if this is where I'm supposed to be, this is where I'll be.
Mm.
Whether I play the best game of my life tomorrow or the worst game of my life tomorrow, if I'm supposed to be here, I will be here. And
Mm.
every time, it just seems like, I feel like every year, I mean, I've gone through free agency a ton. It's so funny because I feel like everyone talks about how once I get my second contract, I'm like, man, I think I'm on like my seventh contract now, and I'm still just dealing with uncertainty. And every time I think about
Yeah.
that, I think about that night when he talked about like, if I'm supposed to be here, I will be here, and it's not up to anyone else. So that's
Mm.
one of those things I've kind of leaned on throughout my career. Anytime I'm facing uncertainty, is, man, like, I am exactly where I need to be. God has placed me exactly where He wants me to be.
Mm.
There's no doubts about that. So all I can do is all I can do. I can just, prepare as best as I can physically,
Mm.
prepare as best as I can mentally, and then and same thing spiritually. Just getting in the Word,
Mm.
just being as in the best place I can be, and trusting that like He will have me where He wants me.
So Tyler, this thing about identity, it reminds me of this quote, if you live for their praise, you'll die by their criticism. And,
Mm,
again, I think of you, I think about someone who's just steadfast, not living for the praise of man, but really living out who God says you are. And yet the world wants to tell you that you're great. There's something about being a professional athlete, right? That our culture tends to kind of admire or maybe put folks in that type of position on a pedestal. And I don't think you've allowed that to get to you, but I'd love for you to just share with our listeners how you've navigated that issue, maybe that temptation or desire, the pride and ego that could come with, that type of position.
well, it's first of all, man, it is a daily battle. And I appreciate you saying those things, but honestly, it's something I struggle with daily, and it's something I've struggled with for a long time. One of the things I've realized is like over my career, I could say all the right things. I think we talked about this at the retreat. I could tell you all the right things. Like,
Mm.
people would be like, hey, like, tell me about football, and like I could tell, oh, well, football doesn't define me. Like, I'm a child of God, a husband, a father, and like I said all these things, right? But my actions say like told a different story. Okay,
Mm.
so and in my heart too, the same thing, man. It was just um. So when I say this, like I'm saying this like in the most humble way possible, that it is still a daily struggle and it's something you have to
Mm.
like. I mean, you got to take up your cross daily,
Mm.
and I feel like for the longest time in my career, I was trying to make my career. I was trying to impress people. I was trying to impress the right
Mm.
people. Do always do what the coaches are asking. Always, being try to get here early, do all the things, and it's so heavy. That is a unbearable burden to carry every
Mm.
day. And I tried to shoulder that for probably eight of my last 10 years of my career, man. Like I was just like, I can do it. No, like I'll just put my head down and I'll do like whatever they ask, like I will do it. And man, it was exhausting. And it still can be exhausting
Mm.
when I get out of line, out of my perspective. A couple years ago, when it's 2022, we actually our starting left guard went down, and I was slotted to step into that role. Before that, I'd played a lot of center, and I was very comfortable playing center. I hadn't played a whole lot of guard, and I was just like, I could just feel the weight of the world, man. Like I was just like, here it is. Like
Mm.
this is the time where I just crumble under it. Like everyone's expecting this to me to step in and just be smooth, and I've got to live up to these expectations. I've got to like pull my weight and do this thing for everyone else. And man, it was just crushing me. And I can remember sitting in my truck and just like crying out to God, just praying, like, take it from me. Like
Mm.
what am I missing here? And that's just when I came to that realization, like, man, like I can't, like, it was like, I went back to that story of my rookie year where the guy was talking about, like, if it is God's plan, it's going to work out how God expects it to work out.
Mm.
And there's nothing I can do about it. Whether I practice super hard, and obviously we should always try our hardest
Mm.
and prepare, but it's going to work out how it's supposed to work out. And there's nothing I can do about it outside of just
Mm.
preparing the best that I can mentally, physically, spiritually. And that was when that piece just like I experienced in 2022 just a piece throughout the year of just and I was just had to and like I said, like, dude, it was a daily fight and not just like a struggle, like it was a
Mm.
fight. It was like a full on fight. Like I'm praying every morning. I was like I had some Bible verses that I was just looking at every morning, reminding myself that this is what this is about. Like if I'm not impacting someone else, if if I'm not pouring into other people, then I'm missing the whole point anyway. I could play 20 years and
Mm.
win Super Bowls and Pro Bowls, but like if it's all about me, then I've missed the point. Like I said
Mm.
earlier too, like when you make it all about you, it's a incredible burden it's just unbearable, that burden to carry, because eventually you won't be able to carry it. And
Mm.
you might be able to carry it for a long time. Some people are built different and they're strong and they can carry it for a long
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
but it will eventually crush you. And then what are you left with after that?
Mm.
And so that's one of the things that helped me just refocus my identity, was just like every morning, man, just like getting ready for that fight. Like just have like, Bible verses, talking to the right people. That's 2022 is when we started meeting, and just
Mm-hmm.
surrounding myself with the right people to remind me that football is not my identity. Going home, like
Mm.
it's so fun. Like after games and stuff, the people that I cared the most about had the least to say about what happened in the game. Now, obviously,
Mm.
if we won or lost, like there was the normal like congratulations or condolences, but no one ever was ever no no person that I truly cared about was like, Tyler, I don't know if you remember on that outside zone to the left, you kind of overshot him and he made the tackle. Like
Yeah.
so, we're going to have to spend some less time. I can't spend as much time with you this week, or I'm gonna love you a little bit less. That never
Right.
happened, and
Right.
uh, yeah, just that day. It's a daily fight. It's a daily reminder of like
Yeah.
this is not who and we're not made to carry that burden. Like I said,
Mm.
like,
Amen.
and like it is a burden. We are not made to carry it, but
Mm.
we are meant to like be in community with people and to love on people, and you know
Mm.
that's the stuff that we should be shooting for, because those are goals that like that isn't like it absolutely is in my control. If I'm in
Mm.
the Word, if I'm pouring into other people, if I'm trying to serve other people, if I'm trying to love other people, that's in my control.
Mm.
The football, all the other things, like that's out of my control.
Mm.
And so just like I said, just a daily fight, a daily reminder that this is what I'm striving for, not the approval of man.
Yeah, well said. It makes me think about some of the conversations we've had this year. The book of Ephesians, I think Ephesians 6 talks about putting on the armor of God, and 4 times in that sort of passage, there's 5 or 6 verses. It talks about standing in the armor of God. It says put on the armor and stand. The word stand is used over and over again. So it doesn't say swing, it doesn't say attack, it doesn't say charge. It says when you're doing spiritual battle, you just are to stand. And I think we're meant to trust God, right? We're meant to rely on God, to trust God with the future, and know that He is sovereign. And again, watched you do that well, and also have loved your spirit about and your plan for continuing to play football. Want our listeners to know this. I'll take them behind the scenes to a conversation we just had. You get re-signed, and one of the things that you were really excited about was the opportunity to be in the locker room to serve guys and bless guys and lead guys. And I thought, man, like that's so cool that you're living life on mission, that you see the locker room as a vehicle to reach people for Christ and to lead well and to inspire and develop men. Talk to us a little bit about, because you mentioned the burden. The other side of that is opportunity. Luke 12:48 says, to whom's been given much, much will be asked. To whom's been entrusted with much, much more will be required. Talk to us about maybe the responsibility that you feel in leading, men, not just on the field, but off the field, and how that's been a part of your leadership journey.
Yeah, there's a huge responsibility, especially now that, I am the older guy in the room. So that's what's been so cool, is just to see, I went through what I went through, not just to get through it, but to like help someone else through it. And I think we've talked about this before, Jordan, where I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in the meeting room or sitting in the locker room. I hear guys having these conversations like, oh yeah, like me and my wife got into it about the rug or about what kind of coffee table we're going to get. And I'm like, I was like, man, that was me like 8 years ago or, 5 years ago. And it's so funny, just, hear that. And I'm like, dude, like, let me help you out. Like, let me help you get through this, because I can see it. I can see my thought process when I was that age and the first time I went through it. And I hear myself like, again, I'm like, yeah, like that's exactly what I thought and exactly what I said. And this is how it turned out. And let me tell you about how much it didn't matter, that little argument or same thing on the field. I've been, like I said, I've been a career backup, but I've also started a lot of games. I've had some time. So like, I've kind of seen both sides of it. I've seen the getting to play a lot and getting to be, feel more part of the win or the game. And I've also been the guy on the sidelines in sweats and just been like, my only job is to encourage. So yeah, like I said, I think just being the older guy and having these experiences, there's a big responsibility to pass it on. And one of the things that we talked about, is I don't now, like, I'm not telling God what He should or shouldn't do, but like I don't think that God had me go through all these experiences just to keep them all to myself and be like, well, that was a fun time in my life. I'm gonna move on to whatever's next. Like we have these experiences to pour into the younger generation and the people that are coming behind us. And like we talk about, that like it pour into the guys in your community, and then just pouring into the younger generation. Like, hey, like I've already been through this. Like, let me help you through it faster. Let me, just like what God's allowed me to walk through, so I can help you walk through it. And that's part of it. And just, like we talked about, just helping guys just kind of, man, hey, just unload that burden, man. You don't need to carry that. Like, just, and it's just so much more fulfilling when your goals for the day are things that are not performance based. You know what I'm saying? Like, if my goal is to go like love on somebody today and just have a deep conversation, let somebody know that they are heard, man, like it's like, and not that we're like called to like look for easy things and the easy goals, but it's so much easier and so much more fulfilling. And that's the stuff that lasts forever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talked about the consecutive game streak. there will be a day when someone will break that record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like there's no doubt in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, someone will eventually break that record. There'll be a day. I mean, look at anybody else. There'll be a day that someone will win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
There'll
Mm-hmm.
be a day when someone kicks a longer field goal than
Mm-hmm.
the longest field. You know what I'm saying? Like all these
Yeah.
records are broken. And then it's when we talk about this, I've been reading Ecclesiastes this offseason, and it's just someone, it will eventually come along and break your records, make more money than you, have more power than
Mm-hmm.
you, or you'll die and they'll use all your stuff, all that stuff that you worked so hard to
Mm-hmm.
build and to gain. And someone else is just going to come along and be like, oh, perfect. Like he left it here. I'll just grab it. And you're like, no, I worked so hard. And you just came and grabbed that. And like, it's just such a good reminder of like how fleeting it is.
Mm.
Like it will be gone in a second. The day that I retire, they will have my replacement in two
Mm-hmm.
minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they already got a list of guys like, this guy can replace Tyler. But what will last forever is, hey man, like when I was struggling, man, that person came and put their arm around me and walked with me through it.
Mm.
When I was going through the hardest time in my life, maybe I got cut or I got benched or I got hurt,
Mm.
and that guy walked with me through it. That's the
Mm.
stuff that people remember. Eventually all the other things will pass on. I mean, you look at like a perfect example this year of the Chiefs win back-to-back Super Bowls. And I remember watching, and Travis Kelce gets on the stage and says, we're going for another one. I mean, he's still got his pads on, he's still
Yeah.
sweating, and they're already looking at the next one. And I'm like, holy smokes, man. Like, and then
Mm.
you look on ESPN the next day and they're always like, all right, who's going to win the Super Bowl next year?
Mm.
It goes so fast. But like those relationships, the time spent pouring into people, that's the stuff that lasts.
Mm. No question. And I think, that mantra that you're most qualified to help the person you used to be,
Yeah.
and so I love that you just shed some light on, I went through those issues. I dealt with uncertainty. I dealt with some of the things that my teammates are dealing with now. And I feel qualified. I feel obligated. I feel responsibility, to share
Yeah.
and teach and to lead. I want to move in a different direction, talk a little bit about family, because
Yeah.
you just talked about relationships and
Yeah.
this idea that you want to be respected most by people who know you the best. We had a chance to talk to a whole bunch of people that know you really well this past year when you broke the record, right? And we get to hear from former coaches and best friends and people who know you now at your church. And there's not a single person I don't recall that said anything about football. A couple of people that mentioned the record, but nothing about your play or your position or your status or your accomplishment. It was all about how you treated people and your family and your faith. And there's some people listening right now who are winning at work, and maybe you feel like you're losing at home.
Yeah.
And I know, Tyler, you really, really deeply desire, you and Natalie, to win together at home. And so you're not perfect, but I do think you and Natalie have done a really good job at prioritizing what matters most inside your home. Your parenting journey, your marriage. And again, you're in a unique line of work where you've got to travel. There's a lot of demand on your time and you're, again, you're dealing with the ways of the world that want to also pull you in different directions. So talk to us about maybe even practically, like what are some of the things that you and Natalie have done to protect your marriage, to guard time with your kids. I'd love for you just to give us a window into your leadership philosophies on a home front.
Yeah. So, and a lot of this is Natalie. She is, she's incredible. She is she's on it, man. So one of the things that I would start out with is we do date nights every Monday night. And that's it's a non-negotiable. And I say non-negotiable. Like obviously, like we are having a date night every week, and I know maybe someone's hearing this and like, well, like that's expensive, or we can't afford like a babysitter or whatever. And I agree. Like it gets expensive because now we're talking about babysitters uh, but there's so many other things you can do. So it doesn't always have to be us going out to like fancy dinner. Honestly, sometimes that could be even just like we're going to order us and the kids Chick-fil-A, and like the babysitter's going to come. Like, we're just going to go maybe walk to the beach.
Mm.
We'll drive to the beach and then walk on the beach, or or just sitting like, but like for us, it's so important to have that time once a week where we're checking in, we're eating together. Because as you know, and as anyone that is listening knows, dinner time is usually not the most relaxing time in a house with children.
Facts.
Usually there's some kind of wrestling match of getting someone to eat something that they don't want to, or negotiations of like, well, I took half a bite of chicken. Can I have some ice cream now, kind of thing. So
Yep.
that's like a big one. Just like having dinner together, because that's one of those things that like if you're having, you get so used to just every night, like it's dinner with everyone, and you forget how to just sit and like, oh, like now it's just us, like, and sometimes you almost forget how to like converse when there's not someone talking over you, and I'm sure too, like, or like when you do try to converse with the kids, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the kids haven't said a word all day, and as soon as I'm like, "Hey, Natalie, did you hear?" and they're like, "Hey, Dad, I got a question." I'm like, oh, "You haven't said a word all day," but as soon as I start to talk to your mama. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm going to do Nate Nights. Another thing that's been big for us is, and this is not sound like silly, but like the kids have a strict bedtime
Mm.
because at 7:30, like the kids are in the bed because now like and like we got to clean up, put up like clean up dinner stuff, but like we need to have that time every night to check in because it is so easy, we are not perfect about it, but on the nights that we don't, the nights that we're like, oh, like we can stay up a little bit later, and then it turns into like 8:30, and then we get the kids in the bed, and it turns into like a long bath time because we let them
Yep.
get too tired, so then they're
Yep.
losing it. And then now it's like 9 o'clock, and I'm just like, all right, it's bed. Like I'm gonna go to bed. Like or like we're both just too tired.
Yep.
And then you get in that like rhythm. You do it a couple nights, and then it
Mm.
just turns into like, hey, I haven't talked to you in like I mean we've been around each other, but I haven't talked to you in days.
Mm.
So that's another one big like for people with kids is just like a strict bedtime
Mm.
because you have to protect that time with your spouse because everything compounds, the good
Yep.
and the bad. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you start making bad habits, man, like it'll get on you, and you can't
Yep.
stop.
Yep.
And then if you can stick to the good habits, the same thing, man. You start being like, oh, this is good stuff, you know.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I think those are. It's just uh, time. Honestly, it's just carving
Mm.
out time. And I think I heard you say this before, but like we never drift. You rarely ever drift to where you want to be. Like you have to
Mm-hmm.
intentionally go in a direction, and so just drifting through parenting and life and relationships and being like, well, we'll just, make sure to take care of the kids and I'll take care of work and we'll be fine, right? Like, no, like you have to have direction. You have to have intentional time carved out
Mm.
because it's not just going to happen like that. It has to be intentional.
And it is so easy if we're not intentional to drift, to
Yeah.
get caught up in just the day-to-day busyness and chaos of running a house or running a family. And we're both married to some really strong women, and Natalie and Ashley, who make that easier on us. But what I heard you say is, in your response, Tyler, is you really protect time specifically with Natalie.
Yeah.
And my mentor told me this recently. Shout out Dale Mulliken. He said, most young men think that parenting is all about the relationship they have with their kids, when it's
Yeah.
really about the relationship you have with your spouse, because
Yeah.
more is caught than taught. And so if you're strong, if you've got a strong marriage and you're fighting for that, right? No marriage is perfect. We're two imperfect people that are bumping into each other. But if you're really trying to prioritize your spouse and make time for each other and stay connected, I think it totally changes the atmosphere and the temperature in your home, and clearly impacts your kids in probably more ways than we know. So, man, keep loving on Natalie. I know you got a great partner and best friend, and it's been fun to watch both of you thrive, not just professionally, but personally. And I know you want to continue to protect your time, man, on the home front. So I've always loved that about you, admired that about you. One of the things that our listeners should know is you do some speaking, and you've done some podcasts, and obviously your time is limited. Your main thing professionally is football, but you really do have a desire to coach, to mentor, to lead. And God's provided some opportunities for you to share and to speak. in some different settings. So talk to us about some of the work that you're doing in that arena, and maybe even the work that you hope to do out into the future.
Yeah. So like you said, I've had some opportunities, and that's been a big it's been a big growing area for me lately. I think you and I've had this conversation where for the first, I mean, years of my career, people would be like, "Hey, can you come speak at this, or can you do this FCA?" And mostly it's like FCA events, things
Yeah.
like that. And bro, like I would find every excuse I could. Like I'm talking like, "Oh man, I think my kids they'll probably be awake that day, so I'll probably have something to do." Like.
Yeah.
But I felt that was one of the things that I felt called to, or not, I don't know. Yeah, called to do. Just I need to stretch my
Yeah.
faith, because I think we talked about this is um when I'm preparing to speak, that is I am in my word. I'm diving in, because
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to waste an opportunity, and I don't want to, that is a high calling. If you're sharing the word of God, like, it's not to be taken lightly. So
Mm.
that's been
Mm.
it's been a great opportunity for me to grow in my faith, and just grow in that area, because like we talked about earlier, like I feel like I've had these experiences, and just because someone doesn't play in the NFL or even play sports, it's so applicable to the rest of your life,
Mm.
you know.
Mm.
And so I've really enjoyed getting to learn about that, and I'm still trying to grow and do more, and just get better at speaking. And then, like you said too, like, just I'm really interested in the coaching and mentoring aspect. I'd love to get into that after football. That's kind of my plan right now, is to go that route and just kind of work with, I mean, anyone, but like specifically, I've had this kind of just feel this heart for young athletes,
Mm.
um, because I just remember looking back after now having talked about it and kind of walked through it, and then also, man, like meeting with a counselor and just being like, we're unpacking, like, man, that was some heavy stuff. Like,
Mm.
that's a big, like I talked about, like, until you take it off, like, you don't realize like what kind of burden you're carrying.
Mm.
Um, as young athletes, like, especially now with social media, man, it has just made it so much worse. And I feel like everyone's trying to meet this level of expectation of like, well, I saw this kid do it on, yeah, well, that kid, like, that guy's one in a million, and also
Mm-hmm.
like that's probably like he's using AI or something. I don't know. Like, that's not real. But
That's true.
I just can't imagine like how much more stressful it is now. And like I would just love to, like I said, like my best friend Josh Wells, like we have both talked about like getting into that, and he's working on it now, of just coming alongside kids that are going through that process, and be, hey man, like, I'm here to walk with you through it. Like,
Mm.
not in a I've done this, like you need to do what I tell you, but like, dude, I'm here because as much as like, I mean, we all know that like that person's like, oh, I've been there, and you're like, yeah, but it was different. And when
Mm.
you're young, especially, you
Mm.
don't see it, and things have changed, man. Like, times are different. Like, people communicate. Like, social media is such a big thing now, and that makes it harder. And like, just want to walk with guys, and with parents too, because that's the
Mm.
big thing too. Is like,
Mm.
it's not about like trying to replace anyone. I'm not trying to replace a coach or a parent, but just being a liaison, like, someone who's kind of in that middle ground, like, not
Yes.
quite your parents' age, but I'm a little bit older than you, and I just want to walk with you through it, man. Because I know, I mean, I talk all the time about this. Like, when my dad and I were going on recruiting trips for football, like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I thought he had it figured out, but looking back, he had no idea. He would just he just kind of lived by the like, just be confident, and like the rest will
Yeah.
come. And
Yeah.
oh man, but so yeah, I'd love to pour into those areas, because I think there's just like I said, like, I mean, not a lot of people have gone through it,
Mm.
and then are like, oh, like, well, I remember how this works, like, because it's
Yep.
probably changed since, like, even if like a parent has done it, like by the time my oldest, or like even my kids, if they are recruited, like by the time they get to that point, like, it will have changed so much since I've done it. So um, I think that'd be a cool area to work with kids and kind of be like,
Mm.
well, let me help you figure this out. Let me just like have another set of eyes on this. And like I said, just someone else to walk through these things, these
Mm.
trials of life with you.
Well, there's going to be a day if you're listening and you have a child who's middle school, high school age, college. There's going to be a day where you could work with Tyler Shatley, or they could work with Tyler
Yeah,
Shatley, right? And
that's right.
I know that that's been on your heart, to help youth and to help parents navigate what you one day walked through, And you're so right that I think having another set of eyes and somebody who's not your parents' age but's a little bit older than you could be a major
Yeah,
blessing. And I also appreciate
yeah,
what you said about communication. Like I think you and I would both agree that the ability to communicate is the most important leadership skill set because it drives
yeah,
everything. And so whether you want to speak or not, if you want to impact people, I think it's important to be working on that skill set. So I love, Tyler, that it's never been about like being on stages for you or, getting on certain types of shows or making a certain amount of money speaking. But you feel a responsibility to work on your craft because you want to reach more people. And a final thing I'll say about that as we land this plane, one of the things that I've just loved about getting to know you is your heart for discipleship and mentorship. Um, if you really want to grow in your faith, that's where it starts. Like you go back to the Great Commission, and Jesus said, "Go make disciples." He didn't say, "Think about it" or "Consider it" or "Do it from time to time." He said, "Go."
yeah,
And you've been doing that, man. And again, I know there's more that you want to do, and there's more that God has for you, but that's heavy on your heart, and that's a part of so many of our conversations. And I think God's used that to shape you, grow you, mold you for what's after football. And man, I just am proud to call you a friend, and it's been a joy to walk next to you these last couple of years and share great conversations about faith and family and perspective and communication. And I've just watched you develop and grow as a leader and mature in some really awesome and unique ways. So, man, value your friendship, value your time with us today, just pouring into our community. But before we sign off, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
So I want to go back to one of the things you said earlier when we talked about parenting, just real quick. When you talked about more is caught than taught, and
Mm,
man, like when you said, I was like, oh, I've heard that before, and I love that. And one of the things I just want to encourage any parents out there that are listening. I know I struggled with this for a long time. I've been like, how can I like? I've got to teach my kids the right thing, the perfect. Like I've got to do it perfectly. And one thing I would say, I would remind people of, if you believe in God and God is the perfect Father, and we are His children, and we still screw it up. So if there's any hope in that, that like, listen, you can do it perfectly, and your kids are still going to mess it up. So don't hang your hat on that. And then another thing you said too, when you said that, I thought, man, like it's so important too, the way when we talk about like our relationship with our spouse, and that is how our children are seeing and connecting that. Like this is how love is supposed to be done.
mm,
If we are always just hyper focused on our children and we're never loving our spouse, what do you think our kids are learning? That they're
mm.
the most important thing in the world over anyone else. And when they grow up and they have eventually become married or something, they're going to emulate that. They're going to read, just regurgitate what they've seen. And so, if I can encourage anyone out there, man, like love your spouse first. And I'm not saying that like you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't, that there's a hierarchy, but like the way we love our spouse, the way we treat our spouse is how our children are going to learn to give and receive love.
Mm.
And so, if there's anyone out there listening that are just like, if they that's the weight on your heart, like, man, like, what do I do with my kids and this? Like, the first thing you do is just love your spouse well. And
Mm.
like I said, like, we talk about, like, I love talking about parenting stuff because, like I said, like, it's just that is our job, is to raise the next generation of believers.
Mm.
And the best way we can do that is to just do it the best that we can with
Mm.
those around us. And then, like you said, like the kids they're gonna catch, like they're like, you can tell them all day long, but like they're gonna do what you do.
That's right.
So anyone
Yep.
out there listening, I'll just encourage you just to you know, keep doing what you're doing in the regards of just like growing in your faith. and loving your spouse.
Well said, man. Well said. Our children will hear what we say, but they're going to catch what we model. And
Right.
I love how you and Natalie are modeling what it looks like to love your spouse well. And I also love what you said about not being perfect, because, I think so many parents don't want their children to see them make mistakes, right? Like, it's like, well, I don't want my kid to know that I'm imperfect or I'm dropping the ball or making mistakes. And, I don't know who said it, but I feel like maybe it was a pastor recently that said, it's important that they see you make mistakes, but not just that, but that they see who you turn to when you do make mistakes, that, hey, like, I'm an imperfect person. I need to ask for forgiveness and grace. Like, God loved me, forgives me. Like, therefore, I need to ask for forgiveness from you. I just recently, with our 13-year-old daughter, like, she was, she's 13. So the look comes out, from time to time.
Yeah.
And I kind of corrected her on this look that she was giving me, but I wasn't overly kind about it. And I was just probably a little too harsh. And, but again, I didn't really want to apologize, because I'm like, man, I don't want to admit, like, there was a part of my spirit that was like, if I apologize, it admits that I didn't handle that right. And so, like, my pride and ego wasn't allowing me to apologize. But it was still on me the next day. I'm like, I need to own this with Audrey. And so I picked her up from dance, and it was this really beautiful conversation, and thank goodness she forgave me. But I just said, like, man, Dad missed it last night. And actually, I probably am missing it a lot, and I'm not slowing down to tell you that I'm missing it. And so I need to ask for forgiveness for really two things. One is that I missed it last night, and I was too harsh with you, regarding this look that I didn't like. But more importantly, those conversations have happened in the past, and I probably haven't come to you to say, like, I need forgiveness, over that. And it was this really, like, she gave me a big hug, and I could tell, like, it really meant a lot to her. And so I just would sign off on everything you said about the desire to be perfect, and just leaning into the fact that we are imperfect people raising imperfect children. And God's provided all that we need, and by His love and grace, I think we can lead our families well. So, man, I get better every time I talk to you, man. Every time we connect, I just feel inspired and full of joy. And you make me a better husband, better dad, better man. So again, bro, I just appreciate you being on the show, and love being a part of your life. Thanks for being here today.
I appreciate you having me, Jordan. And same goes to you, man. It's been an honor getting to work with you, and appreciate you having me on the podcast today.
It's good, man. Well, we're looking forward to watching you crush another year of football, but also excited for all that God has in store beyond that. So God bless you, man. Thanks again for joining the show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
This has been another episode of the Growth Over Goals podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Montgomery. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. If you found any value in this episode, I would love it if you would rate, review, subscribe to this podcast in an effort that we might move our mission of impact forward. I also want to say thank you to our producers, John Choate and James Roth of Storyline Multimedia, for all of the work that they do behind the scenes to make this podcast go. Be well, be great. Have a wonderful day.